Namaskar. Very good afternoon, dear learners. I, Dr. Renu Tomor, welcome you back on the topic which we have been discussing previously, that is relevance of Indian thinkers on education. Friends, we have covered till now quite many aspects as far as relevance of Indian thinkers on education is concerned. Like we have talked about how Indian Renaissance has influenced education system in 19th century. We have also covered, apart from that, we also covered that why is it so relevant as far as these Indian thinkers are concerned, why is it so relevant that why they should be studied, what impact can they have on the current system, and along with that, if they have a vision for the future system as well. So while we were talking about Indian thinkers, we had certain objectives which we covered. We talked about that why are they relevant, one. Second, what are the aims and functions of education as well as the pedagogical aspect of education from the philosophy of Indian thinkers point of view. We have also covered pedagogical practices in the classroom from the perspective of Indian thinkers. We have also covered, apart from that how this socio-intellectual revolution which has taken place in the past has impacted the Indian education system and how it should be read in the current scenario so that it is of the relevance to us in the current scenario as well as in the future. We also talked about how teacher and student relationship has been impacted and from the perspective of the Indian thinkers, and we have also discussed how value and qualities which are needed in the children is to be seen from the perspective of Indian thinkers. While we were talking about these particular key points, we have discussed the following Indian thinkers till now from these perspectives which I have elaborated upon. One was Raja Ram Mohan Roy. We have also discussed Dayanand Saraswati, his philosophy, his thinking, as well as his perspective of not just education but also his perspective of students, his perspective of teachers, his perspective of education system, the relevance of education system in the social scenario. We have also talked about Ramakrishna Paramahansa, his spiritual learnings, influence on the education system and how it can be viewed in the current perspective and how are they of relevance in the current as well as in the future education system. We have discussed Vivekanand. While talking about Vivekanand, we have discussed that how he viewed education system, how he viewed social system and how his philosophy or his angle of philosophy can influence the current education system or the future education system. We talked about Rabindranath Tagore also, his approach to the naturalist thinkers, as well as we talked about that how he has influenced education system from the perspective that naturalism should be the core area and it should be seen from that perspective. So from here on, let me provide you some key points which we have dealt. In M.K. Gandhi, we talked about that why M.K. Gandhi was of so much against the British education system, because he wanted to promote Indian languages, mother tongue to be the medium of instructions. Another important aspect M.K. Gandhi had talked about that the basic education system which has been introduced by Britishers was of no relevance because it was not adhering to the mind, spirit and the spiritual aspect, which was of very much relevance to him because he believed in heart and hand rather than believing in 3 R's, that is arithmetic and the 3 R's which we generally talk about, that one should be able to write, one should be able to read and one should be able to practice basic arithmetic. So he did not believe in these 3 R's, rather he believed in that education system should be adhered to spiritualism, one. Secondly, making students practical oriented in such a manner that they should be able to address everyday's problem. They should be learning something which is of importance to them tomorrow and they should be able to practice it in practical life, that is making them workers, good managers. So education system should be making them learn certain skills, because he believed that working with hand was very important. He believed in oral education more than the memorization, or we can say just memorization is the system, the current system which we have, and that was also a system during his tenure. The Britishers also believed in making students memorize the fact, so he was against it. In fact, when we talk about his philosophy of education is blending of idealism, naturalism and pragmatism, and his life itself was about teaching how to educate your kids. So he talked about how the human personality has to be brought out by the education system, and he has talked about that learning by doing should be there to stimulate individuals' mind to think creatively, independently and critically. Gandhiji had also insisted that his scheme for primary education would include the most important elementary principles of sanitation, hygiene, nutrition. These were the three key aspects which he kept at centered when he talked about primary education, and this was beside compulsory physical training through musical drill. He believed that the education system should be making students not just physically strong but also confident and useful to their parents and to their country. So, and as far as the religion is concerned, he believed that practical religion should be there and it should not be allowed to have any impact on the education system. He disapproved of rote learning, memorization, and he believed that local craft should be at the center while teaching the students. And this is how he advocated the education system, and in the same line he had advocated what education system should be aiming at. Apart from that, he also advocated that how education system should be treated by the teachers, that is the teaching activities which should be taken up, the teaching methods which should be adopted. The another important person whom we have discussed was in the last lecture was Dr. Zakir Hussain Khan. Dr. Zakir Hussain Khan, as we know, he is known to be not just a selfless nationalist leader, apart from the fact that he was the President of India and the first Muslim President of India. He is known for not just a selfless nationalist leader but also as an educationist par excellence. Just like Gandhiji, he also believed that sitting for long hours silently in the classroom receiving lessons is of waste and it does not give us good students. He also believed that mother tongue should be the medium of instruction and English should not be. He also believed that co-education should be there initially during the primary education, and there should be fusion of theory and practical, that is learning by doing. So most of the key points as far as Dr. Zakir Hussain is concerned are similar to that of Shri M.K. Gandhiji as well as Baba Ambedkar, because Zakir Hussain was as socialist as Baba Saheb Ambedkar was. He also believed that education should be created for social uplifting of the people and it should be geared to create useful, responsible and dynamic citizens. He also believed that education should be free from the religion as well as free from the other aspect, that is the community aspect or the classist aspect, that the class system should not be there. Another important person whom we need to discuss is Rabindranath Tagore. Rabindranath Tagore, as we know, was a naturalist in his thinking as well as in his writing. He is known primarily for educationist rather than for a political thinker. We know that as far as his thinking, his philosophical belief in naturalism is concerned, was seen in his idea of the university which he wanted to establish, and accordingly he established the idea and the university. In the university he provided freedom. Freedom was a basic guiding force as far as education is concerned, including the interest of the students, that is the students should be allowed to run around, the students should be given freedom to climb the trees, they should be allowed to pursue any branch of knowledge they like. Asia's first Nobel laureate, Rabindranath Tagore, he was born in a prominent Calcutta family known for its social, religious and cultural innovation during the 19th Bengal Renaissance. He saw education as a vehicle for appreciating the richest aspect of other cultures while maintaining one's own cultural specificity. He wrote, quote, I was brought up in an atmosphere of aspiration for the expansion of the human spirit. We, in our home, sought freedom of power in our language, freedom of imagination in our literature, freedom of soul in our religious creeds, and that of mind in our social environment. So, from what he has written, we can understand that he believed in education providing the atmosphere in which the students should be allowed to aspire for expansion, aspire for freedom. They should be given an opportunity so that they become more confident, and that can only be provided by power of education, which is one with life and only which can give us real freedom. This is what he believed. He believed that as far as education is concerned, that can provide the highest kind of power, freedom of moral communion in the human world, because as far as Rabindranath Tagore is concerned, he believed in the global world. He said, I try to assert in my words and work that education has its only meaning and object in freedom and only freedom, unquote. So from here, what we find is that he believed in critical thinking, he believed in experimentation, he believed in expansion. In fact, he believed that ignorance about the laws of universe and freedom from the passion and prejudice in our communication with the human world should be at the center. That should be the agenda of education. As he said that in my institution, now he's talking about his university, in my institution I have attempted to create an atmosphere of naturalness in our relationship with strangers, and the spirit of hospitality, which is the first virtue in man that made civilization possible. That he says that I invite thinkers and scholars from foreign land to let our boys know how easy it is to realize our common fellowship when we deal with those who are great, and that it is the puny who with their petty vanities set up barriers between man and man. So from here, what we can understand is that Rabindranath Tagore believed in human relationship, and that human relationship was at the global level, not just at the national or a state or a religion or a regional level. It was beyond it. It was person understanding the other person and evolving with that, because he was against the ignorance, and he believed that it is responsibility of the education system to free everybody from the ignorance. At Shantiniketan, he says that this was a central idea of Shantiniketan, his university of course, and now everybody knows that Shantiniketan is a deemed university, and it was set up by Rabindranath Tagore as a experimental university of his own beliefs and his ideas. Rabindranath Tagore did not write a central educational treatise. His ideas are gleaned through his writings or educational experiments which he performed at Shantiniketan. In general, he envisioned an education that was deeply rooted in one's immediate surrounding but connected to the cultures of the wider world. In his university, he says that children sit on hand-woven mats, and this is a fact, and this is still the practice at Shantiniketan. Beneath the tree which they are allowed to climb, they are allowed to run beneath between the classes. Nature walks and excursions are part of the curriculum, and students are encouraged to follow the life cycle of insects, birds and plants. Class schedules are also made flexible to allow for shifts in the weather or special attention to the natural phenomena and seasonal festivals. They are also created for the children so that children understand what kind of seasonal festivals we have, not just in India but globally, so that they have an understanding and they can easily connect with the people globally. Another important visionary whom we need to discuss and who has played a very important role as far as education system is concerned is Jiddu Krishnamurti. Krishnamurti was born on 11th May 1895 in Madanpalle in the state of Andhra Pradesh, southern India, close to Rishi Valley Education Center, an institution which he established in 1928. So, the institution which he has created, Rishi Valley Education Center, that is the institution which reflects his philosophy, his ideas, his understanding of the education system. Krishnamurti's father was an official in the revenue department of the colonial administration, and Krishnamurti was one of the 5 children. After his retirement, his father retired from the public services. He decided to work for the Theosophical Society in Chennai. He was offered a job over there. He joined to provide the services over there, and in exchange he was provided accommodation for his sons and himself, and they eventually moved to Adyar, Chennai in 1909. In the early years of his youth, Krishnamurti and his brother Nityanand were adopted by Dr. Annie Besant, the president of Theosophical Society, who saw a certain spiritual quality in him that sent him apart from the others. So Dr. Annie Besant in fact worked upon both Nityanand as well as Jiddu Krishnamurti so that they can work for her Theosophical Society in the future, and they were trained by her in such a manner that they would further work for the progression of Theosophists. Rather, what happened was that Krishnamurti, who was chosen as a vehicle for the for the Theosophists, rather he chose to become a vehicle for the world teacher rather than becoming a vehicle for bringing salvation to the mankind. He saw that he was to prepare a world for the coming of this world teacher, an organization called Order for Star in the East, which was formed in 1911 with Krishnamurti at its head. But the Krishnamurti, on the contrary, chose to work in a different philosophy, in a way that he believed that the teacher has a different kind of a role. He believed that the teacher is a spiritual leader, and to be a world teacher means that the person should be free from every kind of psychological control, and he should be influenced by his own psychological development. So Krishnamurti believed that becoming a world Messiah is not that important, rather than able to create good teachers and able to become good teacher was of more importance to him. That is why he chose to become a teacher rather than becoming a world Messiah or having the superiority over others. In fact, on the contrary, he believed that right education was more important than the changing the world or spiritual orientation for which he was trained. And that was the key agenda of Sri Krishnamurti throughout his life. That is providing the right education. Right education for him didn't mean temporary solution to the society's problem, but it was a long-term solution which provide progression to individual as well as society. He believed that teacher should work as a revolutionary to awaken the intelligence, to awaken the sense of responsibility, to imbibe in the student a flame of discontent, so that the student is discontented with the current scenario, only then there would be some kind of futuristic progression. He believed in awakening the consciousness of people, which was undoubtedly based upon the strong moral passion which he has. So it was Krishnamurti's moral passion that formed the basis of his relentless pursuit of the good society that was grounded in right values and right relationship. So Krishnamurti was a philosopher basically, whose passionate search for good society wasn't really grounded in particular religion or philosophical tradition. Rather, he relied on external instrument or tool for existence. He believed in inner discovery that sought to go beyond the physical body and bring about a mutation in the human mind. He believed that change was possible only through external means. That was a wrong understanding of the people. That means if we want to have a change, political revolutions or social movement cannot bring that change. That change, that is transformation in any society or any community or the globally, that can only come after transformation of human consciousness. This transformation did not include use of mechanical practices such as any form of religious ritual or attachment or dogma. This transformation would include critical thinking, being able to look inside the person as well as being able to look outside for improvement. That is, establishment of the good society was at the center, and he believed that as a teacher, one is repository of all humanity and they are the world. He said, to quote him, "You are the world and world is you." And if there is radical transformation in very structure of an individual psyche, then the world will change because it will affect the whole consciousness of man. He believed that the education should be working as to make students understand and take up process of critical thinking as a mode of self-discovery. Krishnamurti's break with the tradition and all form of authority, however, characterized his strength as a philosopher, for he was like a breath of fresh air to those who had been trying to fathom the depth of both consciousness and existence following traditional paths of understanding. In his quest for the good society, Krishnamurti did not seek some kind of power, authority or legitimacy through the establishment of school as an organization for the transformation of human being. In fact, he abandoned all the former organizations and he shunned and the attempts to canonize or formalize the pursuit of good society, for which he considered possible only through inner renewal. So, Krishnamurti saw education holding the key to real change both from the inner revolution and in the society. And more curiously, Krishnamurti sought to establish schools as communities of people working together as a step towards bringing about enlightenment of human being. So, as he believed that holistic education is essential for inner renewal and that can only effect social transformation and indeed can lead to societal change. He rejected the view that teaching is something that can be first studied and then translated into action. He believed that teaching comes from inside, and for him, when he was asked what his teaching was, he said, "It's a matter of partaking or sharing together rather than giving or receiving or something." There is also an emphasis on the instantaneous nature of the transformation. It is not something that is accomplished gradually through striving, seeking and bringing one's life, one's conduct and thought by degrees more in conformity with some ideal, unquote. So, as we understand that Krishnamurti was basically trying to understand state of becoming or being, and he, in unraveling that, he said there is nothing like state of becoming or being. Rather, there is a state of timelessness. And education's purpose is to awaken the critical thinking among students who will understand that change is the only reality, and the quest for self-knowledge and self-discovery should be there inside every student, and it should be such that it should not take an individual very far from oneself. That means the teaching should be such that one should be exploring one's inside as well as exploring outside. So there is a journey inside an individual, and it is unending process, because knowing oneself is an unending process, so is the education. So that is why G.D. Krishnamurti believed that the teaching is not something which can be taught, it is there inside every person. All we have to do is awaken. So cultivation of global outlook, a love of nature, concern for mankind, These are all part of Krishnamurti's educational aim, and more specific goals, if you want to understand, which were given or advocated by G.D. Krishnamurti were are revealed through the philosophy of Rishi Valley schools. First, to educate students so that they are able to explore both the world and their inner being. Second, to inculcate a love for nature and respect for all forms of life. Then, to create an atmosphere of affection, order and freedom without either fear or license. Not to condition the students in any particular belief, either religious, political or social, so that their mind may remain free to make fundamental questions, inquire and learn. Based upon this philosophy, teachers should attempt to create an atmosphere of space, freedom, care and security in which students are helped to enlarge their horizon and grow. School should be concerned with developing the individual talent and intelligence of each student. So, from this what we can understand is that the Krishnamurti saw education as a tool for individual enhancement as well as social enhancement, and from that what we conclude is that as far as G.D. Krishnamurti is concerned, that means that education is having very responsible position in the society, in the community and in the individual's life, and education is a lifelong process. So the teacher is a very key and very important person in the life of a student. Now let us talk about B.R. Ambedkar. B.R. Ambedkar was a beckoning leader of untouchable, but he should be known for being a patriot, scholar, thinker and founding father of Indian Constitution. Baba Sahab, as far as the education is concerned, he contributed to the advancement of education in the country in multifarious manner. He said, educate, organize and agitate. These were the three burning messages: educate, organize and agitate. They were the views of empowering. His empowerment refers to increase in spiritual, political, social, racial, educational, gender or economic strength of individuals and communities. The term empowerment covers a vast landscape of meanings, interpretation, definitions and disciplines ranging from psychology and philosophy to the highly commercialized self-help, university and motivational sciences as well. Ambedkar wanted the people to cultivate the value of freedom and equality among themselves, and that he believed was only possible through education. So he regarded education as a means to reach the doors of light, and that is why he emphasized on secular education for social emancipation. The basic theme of his philosophy of education is inculcating the value of liberty, equality, fraternity, justice and moral character amongst the boys and girls of all shades. By the way of his educational philosophy, we understand that he believed that full freedom of education without the barriers of any caste, creed and race, that was the best way for the enlightenment of human beings from ignorance. So from this what we understand is that education is completely a secular one. Secondly, it is a tool to provide progression to a community who needs to progress and who has been not given the opportunity to progress. So education is not just an opportunity to help them to progress, but also tool for them to progress, and this has been proven in the past decades as well. And he also believed that if we want to enlighten the human beings from the ignorance, so education is the tool. Friends, on this note, I, Dr. Renu Tomar, is taking your leave with best wishes for your health. Take care, stay safe, stay healthy. I shall be joining you soon on another topic. Namaskar, Jai Hind. Thanks a lot for being with me.